Here's a number that stops people cold. When you train with the Atom Optimizer, the momentum and variance it tracks can eat more memory than the model weights themselves. Now multiply that waste across every GPU in a data parallel job, because the classic setup copies all of it onto every device. Microsoft's DeepSpeed team looked at that duplication and asked a blunt question. Why store the same thing everywhere? The Zero Redundancy Optimizer is their answer, and it's the reason we can train models with hundreds of billions of parameters. To feel the problem, put the old way and the zero way right next to each other. Standard data parallelism replicates everything. Every GPU keeps its own full copy of the optimizer states, the gradients, and the parameters, and with Atom those optimizer states in higher precision are the single biggest memory hog. Multiply that across the cluster and you're paying for the same numbers again and again on every device. Zero refuses that duplication. Rather than a full copy per GPU, it partitions those tensors across the devices, so each card owns only a slice and no piece is stored twice. The redundancy vanishes, and the memory you get back can be spent on a far bigger model instead. Nothing about the math changes, only where each number lives, and that single shift is what makes room for models that simply couldn't fit before. Now, the clever part is that Zero doesn't do this all at once. It removes redundancy in 3 progressive stages, each saving more memory for a little more communication. The first stage goes after the biggest target, the optimizer states. Those momentum and variance buffers get partitioned across the GPUs, so each device only stores and updates its own slice of them. That alone reclaims a huge chunk of memory, because with Atom the optimizer states are the heaviest part. The next stage keeps everything from before and adds the gradients to the partitioning. Instead of every GPU holding the full gradient tensor, each card ends up responsible for just its portion. More memory freed, at the cost of a bit more coordination between the devices during the backward pass. The final stage finishes the job by partitioning the parameters themselves, so no GPU holds the whole model. Weights are gathered only when a layer needs them, then released. This is essentially what FSDP does, and it's the stage that unlocks the truly enormous models. Notice the pattern holding across every stage. Each level saves more memory and asks for a little more communication in return. Extensions like Zero Offload and Zero Infinity push even further, spilling state out to CPU memory and even NVMe drives when you need still more room. So let's boil the whole idea down to 3 points that make Zero stick. First, the culprit. Optimizer states are usually the biggest memory cost in training, especially with Atom, which is why partitioning them first buys the largest immediate win. Second, the ladder. 3 stages partition progressively more states, then gradients, then parameters, letting you dial in exactly how much memory you need to reclaim. Third, the bargain. Every stage trades a bit more communication for a lot more scale, and the final stage is essentially the technique that FSDP later built on. You choose how far up the ladder to climb based on exactly how much memory your model needs back. Let's gather the essentials into 4 takeaways worth keeping. The Zero Redundancy Optimizer from Microsoft DeepSpeed removes the memory duplication that plain data parallel training wastes. With Atom, the optimizer states are usually the single largest memory cost, which is why Zero partitions those first. Progressive stages partition the optimizer states first, then the gradients, then the parameters, saving more memory at each step. That final stage is essentially what FSDP does, and it's how DeepSpeed trains models with hundreds of billions of parameters. Want more of these engineering ideas made simple? That's the whole point of Standarity.com, so come hang out.